What's good, everybody? In this video, we're talking about triangle problems that you're going to see on the ACT and SAT. Hope this video review is helpful. So in this problem, we want to find the value of x. But before we do that, we have to figure out what A and B are, those two angles. And this is the hint that they give us. So anytime we have two side lengths or two angles that are the same, that means we're dealing with an isosceles triangle. So basically, A and B are going to be the same interior angle degree, right? So to solve, we're going to do 50 plus A plus B is equal to 180. Once I simplify, I'm going to get A plus B is equal to the 130. We know that A and B are going to be the same exact degree measure. So once I divide by 2, I'm going to get A is equal to 65 and B is also equal to 65. And when we add these back up with 50, we're going to get our answer of 180 degrees inside the triangle. Now that we have that, for us to figure out x, we know that these two angles should equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to do 180 minus 65. And if I'm not mistaken, this should give me an answer of 115 degrees, which would be C. We're dealing with a scalene triangle, meaning that none of the angles are going to be the same. So for us to figure out what x and 2x are, we're going to create an equation since they gave us one side length. So what we're going to have is x plus 2x plus 30 is equal to 180 degrees. 3x is equal to 150. Once we divide, we are now going to get x is equal to 50 degrees. So we'll have 50 here, 100 once we multiply by 2. And once we add all three, guys, we're going to get 180 degrees. But before we go on to the next problem, I want to show you guys a trick or a formula in case you don't remember how much degrees a shape, triangle, square, a quadrilateral should measure. So what we're going to do, we're going to do n minus 2 times 180. And n just represents the number of sides. So since we have three sides, 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 times 180 is 180. So if you forget how much degrees, right, a shape should have, interior angles, just remember this formula here and plug in the number of sides from that shape and then solve. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying this video so far. If you have, smash the like button for us. So we're moving on to one of the more challenging problems. So they want us to figure out the perimeter and the area for triangle ABC. Okay? And all they gave us is that angle C is going to be 30 degrees, and then we have two side lengths. So first we need to figure out how the height of the triangle, right, or one of the longer legs, I should say, and then we need to find out the hypotenuse and base of the other triangle. So we could do the Pythagorean theorem so we could figure out what this height is or the length, but we should know that it's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So if it's a 3, 4, 5 triangle, that relationship, if this is 9 and this is 15, this side has to be 12. So this is a rule that we'll remember. If you don't necessarily remember it, you can use the Pythagorean theorem and also solve. Now that we have this length, we could find the base and the hypotenuse of this other triangle ADC. But there's another special relationship. This is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So what does that mean? So since we have the short leg, guys, the relationship is, hey, the long leg is going to be whatever the short leg is, which is 12, multiplied by radical 3. So now we know that right here, this base, DC, is going to be 12 radical 3. And then the hypotenuse is just 2 times the short leg. So this is going to give us 24. Okay? And in this instance, you would not be able to use the Pythagorean theorem. Okay? Well, it wouldn't work as well, I should say. So now we have all the side lengths, and now what we're trying to do is to figure out what's the perimeter. And the perimeter, we're just adding all four sides, but just make sure you follow this trick. All right. So we have 15 plus 24 plus 9 plus 12 radical 3. Now everybody's going to want to go through and add 15, 24, 9, and 12. But remember, we can add all those numbers except for 12 radical 3 because these other three integers, they don't have a radical. And for us to add radicals, they have to have the same number under the radical. So once we focus and add these three, we're going to get, I want to say 54. Let's just make sure. Is it 54? That's 9. No. So we're going to get 48 plus 12 radical 3. And this would be our final answer. Now, when we go over and we're talking about the area, we know that the area of a triangle is half the base times the height. So when I try to fill this in, this is how we're going to solve for this triangle. So we have A is equal to 1/2. And let's put the height first, right? 12 times the base. So remember now, they didn't ask us for just DC or BD. They're saying a triangle ABC. So this represents the whole entire base. So we put it inside parentheses, 9 plus 12 radical 3. And now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by distributing. So A is equal to 6 times 9 plus 12 radical 3. When we simplify, we know the area of triangle ABC is going to be 70, not 72, sorry guys, I'm off, 54 plus 72 radical 3. And if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be letter choice C in the bottom of my screen. So our next problem, they give us a diagram and they're asking us for the value of x, and we know that there's a proportion between y and x that is 3 to 2. So the first thing we need to do is set up an equation. We have x plus y plus the 90-degree angle, and we know that this entire angle, a straight line, is going to measure 180 degrees. So once we simplify, I have x plus y is equal to 90. Now let's factor in this ratio, and we're going to use a as the variable. So a is going to equal to the degrees of x. I don't know why I put that backwards, but okay, you guys understand what I'm saying. So now we know 2x, sorry, 2a plus 3a is going to give us 90. So 5a is equal to 90. Once we divide by 5, what are we going to get for this? Should be 18 if I'm not mistaken. Yup, it's going to be 18. And then now for us to get our final answer now, guys, remember, this is just A, right? To figure out what X is, we're going to take this A and multiply it by 2. So we know that X should be equal to 36 degrees. And let's just check our answer sheet. Yup, so it's going to be letter choice C. In our next problem, guys, we need to figure out the missing angle X. And what we notice is that they only give us two angles. So this is what we need to know. We know that this is going to be 90 degrees, right? We know 120 plus 135 is going to give us 155. When we subtract that from 180, we're going to get 25 degrees. Now, this is where this problem becomes important. So this right here, 25 degrees, remember that when two lines intersect, they create vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. What does that mean? That means if this is 25 degrees, the vertical angle right here is also going to be 25 degrees. So now that I know that, I could set up an equation and do 180 is equal to 25 plus 90 plus x. And when we simplify, we'll have 180 is equal to 115 plus x. When we subtract 115, we're going to get 65 degrees is going to be equal to that missing angle. Last problem of the day, guys, we're going to be talking about surface area and volume. So when we look at the equations, let's just write them down real quick. So volume is equal to s to the third power, and surface area is equal to 6s squared. Now this is important because we're going to have to use these equations to solve. So it says, what is the volume of a cube whose surface area is 150? So if we know that the surface area is 150, we're trying to figure out the side. And when we figure out that side, we can then figure out the volume. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange this equation for S. So I divide by 6. So I have surface area divided by 6 is equal to S to the second power. By now, if you've been watching me, to get rid of this exponent, we're going to take its square root. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. So now I'm just going to flip this around. That exponent is gone. S is equal to the square root of the surface area divided by 6. Now, let's plug some numbers in. So S is equal to the square root of 150 divided by 6. And sometimes I understand students are trying to take the square root before they divide. Let's divide first, right? So S is equal to the square root of 25. So that's 150 times 150 divided by 6, not times. So we know S is equal to 5. That is the square root. Now that we have that information, we know each side is equal to 5. Volume is equal to the side length 5 to the third power. So we know V is going to be equal to 125, which will be answer choice C. Hope this video review on triangles for the SAT and ACT was helpful for you guys. If it was, smash the like button for us, subscribe to the channel, and leave comments for future videos you guys would like to see, or if you have any questions from today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching me today. This is Algebra 1 with Mr. Peters.